Hello. To introduce myself, my name is Mark De Damian, and I am a member of Group 4. I hope we will learn about the topic, which is very important to know a bit about the law, contract, and its terminology in our future journey as engineers. The topic I have been assigned to report on is the general rule of construction and interpretation, as well as the terminology of the contract. The general rule of construction. In legal texts like contracts, statutes, and ordinances, the term general rule of construction refers to the fundamental principles applied in the interpretation process. These rules assist in determining the intended meaning of the language utilized in legal documents and guarantee that interpretations are valid, consistent, and fair. Interpretation refers to determining the meaning and implications of legal text, such as statutes, constitutions, contracts, or judicial decisions. The goal is to understand the text's meaning and how it should be applied in specific situations. The difference between interpretation and construction. Interpretation focuses on understanding the meaning, while construction deals with applying that meaning. Interpretation is more about analysis and understanding, whereas construction is about implementation and decision making. The outcome of interpretation is clarified meaning, while the results of construction is an actionable decision or rule. I will give you an example of how to use the interpretation and construction in the following slide. So here is the scenario. Imagine a new environmental law is passed that states no industrial waste shall be discharged into the river. First, yung interpretation nitong law. So legal experts, environmental scientists, and stakeholders will come together to interpret the meaning of industrial waste and the meaning of discharge into the river. Through their discussions and analysis, they determine that industrial waste includes any byproduct from manufacturing processes that could harm the river's ecosystem. And the meaning of discharge into the river means directly or indirectly releasing waste into the river. Now, the construction. The regulatory agencies then take these interpretations of the experts and construct policies and procedures to enforce the law. They develop guidelines for factories on how to treat waste before disposal, set up monitoring system to detect illegal discharges, and outline penalties for non-compliance. In this phase, the abstract meaning derived from the interpretation is applied practically, ensuring the law is followed effectively in making a tangible difference in environmental protection. Now, interpretation is the process of understanding what the law means. And construction is putting that understanding into action. Now let's talk about the contract terminology. In this section, medyo mahaba-haba kasi napakaraming terminologies sa contract na dapat malaman natin dahil magagamit natin ito in our future transactions as an engineer. So, contract terminology. Contracts are legal documents that define the terms and conditions of an agreement between parties. Understanding the specific terminology used in contract is essential for ensuring clarity and enforceability. Here are some key terms commonly found in contracts. Parties, the individuals or entities entering into the contract. For example, this agreement is made between JNP Builders, the seller, and RK Accents Industries, the buyer. The clause. This agreement is made between JNP Builders, the seller, and RK Accents Industries, the buyer. This is a standard introductory statement in contracts that identifies the parties involved. It provides clarity, is legally binding, and has a reference framework throughout the contract, ensuring that both parties understand their responsibilities and can be held accountable. The clause is typically found at the beginning of the contract and serves as a foundation for the rest of the contract. It also outlines contractual obligations, demonstrating that both parties acknowledge their roles and responsibilities. In a construction project, the clause outlines the obligations, payments, and rights outlined in the contract, ensuring that JNP Builders must deliver the materials and RK Accent Industries must pay for them. This clause helps court or arbitrators determine the intent and obligation of each party in the event of a dispute. Recitals. Preliminary statements at the beginning of the contract outline the purpose and background of the agreement. For example, whereas the seller is engaged in manufacturing furniture and whereas the buyer desires to purchase furniture from the seller. The clause, whereas the seller is engaged in manufacturing furniture and whereas the buyer desires to purchase furniture from the seller. It is part of the recital section of a contract. It provides context for the agreement, clarifying the nature of the seller's business and the buyer's intent to purchase. Recitals are crucial in legal interpretation as they help to understand the purpose of the contract and the intentions of the parties involved. Definitions. Specific terms are defined within the contract to avoid ambiguity, to avoid confusion. For example, effective date means the date both parties sign the agreement. The effective date clause in a contract is a specific term that defines the date both parties sign the agreement. It provides clarity and legal certainty, ensuring that both parties understand when their obligations begin. The effective date is the calendar date on which both parties have affixed their signatures to the contract and serve as a reference point for other time-related clauses. This clause is crucial for the proper execution and enforcement of the contract. Consideration. The value exchanged between the parties can be money, services, or goods. For example, considering the payment of 10,000, the seller agrees to deliver 100 assorted furniture to the buyer. The clause considering the payment of 10,000, the seller agrees to deliver 100 assorted furniture to the buyer. This outlines the core agreement between the seller and the buyer, specifying consideration, obligation, and deliverables. The 10,000 payment is the buyer's consideration, and the seller's obligation is to deliver 100 assorted furniture items in exchange for the payment. This clear exchange forms the basis of the contractual agreement, ensuring both parties understood their roles and responsibilities. Term. Term is the duration of the contract. For example, this agreement shall commence on the effective date and continue for 1 year. The term in a contract refers to the duration of the contract, including its start and end dates. It provides clarity, legal enforceability, and planning for both parties and ensures the agreement is legally enforceable only during the specified period. Example of terms include a 1 year contract, which can be renewed or extended after the initial terms end. Termination conditions may also be included, which often influence deadlines for performance, delivery, and other time-sensitive obligations. Contract terminology, obligations, warranties and representations, indemnity. Obligation is duties and responsibilities each party has agreed to fulfill under the contract. For example, the seller shall deliver the furniture to the buyer on or before September 30, 2024. Warranties and representation, statements or facts, and assurances made by each party regarding the contract. For example, the seller represents and warrants that the furniture will be free from defects in material and workmanship for 1 year. Indemnity is a clause in which one party agrees to compensate the other for any loss or damage. For example, the buyer agrees to indemnity and hold harmless the seller from any claims arising from the buyer's use of the furniture. The terms obligations, warranties and representations, and indemnity are essential components of a contract. Obligations outline the duties each party must fulfill, such as delivering goods or providing services. Warranties and representations provide assurances about the quality or performance of goods or services. Indemnity clauses protect one party from financial loss or damage caused by the other party's actions or negligence. These terms establish clear expectations, provide assurances, and protect parties involved. Confidentiality clauses protect sensitive information shared during a contract, ensuring it remains private and not disclosed to unauthorized parties. Sample include the parties agree to keep confidential or proprietary information disclosed during the term of this agreement. Termination clauses outline the circumstances under which either party can end the contract, such as breach of contract or mutual agreement. Sample include either party may terminate this agreement with 30 days written notice. Dispute resolution. Dispute resolution clauses specify conflict resolution methods such as mediation, arbitration, or litigation. For example, any disputes arising from this agreement shall be resolved through binding arbitration. These clauses are crucial or vital in managing the relationship between contracting parties, ensuring clarity, protecting interest, and providing mechanisms for addressing issues during the contract's execution. Force majeure clauses in contracts protect parties from liability for unforeseen events beyond their control, such as natural disasters, war, strikes, epidemics, or governmental actions. This clause ensures that parties are not held liable for non-performance if they cannot fulfill their contractual duties due to such events. Practical considerations include notification, mitigation, and duration. Governing law clauses specify the legal jurisdiction whose law will govern the contract, providing clarity and predictability in legal matters. For example, if a contract dispute goes to court, the court will apply Philippine Republic law to interpret the contract and determine the outcome. Parties often choose the governing law based on factors such as location, familiarity, and perceived fairness. These clauses are essential for managing risk and ensuring clear legal frameworks within the contractual relationship, providing security and predictability for all parties involved. The entire agreement clause ensures that the written contract represents the complete agreement between the parties, excluding any prior agreements not included in the document. It prevents parties from claiming additional terms agreed upon outside of what is documented in the contract. The sample clauses asserts that the contract contains all the terms of the agreement between the parties, preventing any parties from introducing external terms or conditions not agreed upon in the written document. The amendments clause outlines the formal process for modifying the contract, typically requiring written documentation and signatures from both parties. This ensures that all changes are mutually agreed upon and formally documented. Maintaining the integrity of the contract, the sample clause ensures that both parties know and agree to any changes, preventing misunderstanding and ensuring agreement. That concludes my discussion of the topic that was assigned to me. I hope that you have taken in and appreciated the explanations that I provided. Thank you to everyone, and thank you to Engineer Buluran. Let us now proceed to the next reporter in our team.
Good day, everyone. My name is Charles Miguel D. Obispo, and I am from Group 4. And I was tasked to discuss these two topics, which are general versus specific terms in the contract, writing and writing versus printing. So, first of all, we're going to discuss general versus specific terms in the contract. So, the overview of this is to give importance or to know the importance of understanding contract terms and the purpose of it is to differentiate between general and specific terms. So, what is general terms? So, general terms are broad statements within a contract that apply universally to the entire agreement. There are foundational clauses that set the tone and overarching principles governing the contract's execution and interpretation. So, for example, governing law, payment terms, and confidentiality. So the purpose of including general terms in a contract is to establish an overall framework and set guidelines that govern the relationship between the parties. These terms provide a clear structure, helping to avoid misunderstandings and ensuring that both parties have a mutual understanding of the fundamental aspects of their agreement. By setting out these overarching rules, the contract can more effectively manage expectations, protect interests, and facilitate smoother execution of the contract's specific provision. So moving on. So we are now going to define specific terms. So what is specific terms? So specific terms are detailed provisions within a contract that apply to a particular aspects of the agreement. These clauses provide precise instructions and requirements related to the performance of the contract. So for examples, delivery schedules, quality specifications, penalties for non-compliance. So the purpose of specific terms in a contract is to address particular obligations and requirements in a detailed manner. By including these provisions, the contract ensures that all aspects of the agreement are clearly defined and understood. So this reduces the potential for disputes as both parties have a precise understanding of their responsibilities and the consequences of non-compliance. So specific terms also helps to ensure that the contract is executed efficiently and effectively, with clear guidelines for performance and accountability. So we are now going to compare general terms and specific terms. So comparing general and specific terms helps in understanding their distinct roles and scopes within a contract. General terms provide a broad framework, while specific terms focus on detailed requirements. Recognizing the difference between these terms ensures that the two have a better contract management, as it clarifies how different parts of the contract operate and interact. By clearly distinguishing between broad guidelines and specific requirements, parties can mitigate risk and reduce the likelihood of dispute as each term's scope and application are well understood. So the importance of both terms. So general terms provide consistency and overall direction. So general terms establish a consistent framework for the entire contract. They offer a cohesive set of principles and guidelines that guide the overall execution and interpretation of the contract, ensuring that all parties operate under the same foundational rules. This consistency helps in maintaining a clearly understanding of the overarching goals and legal context of the agreement. So specific terms ensure clarity and precision in critical areas. So specific terms address detailed aspects of the contract with precision. They define exact requirements, responsibilities, and conditions for particular sections, reducing ambiguity and providing clear instructions on how specific elements should be handled. This clarity is crucial for managing expectation and ensuring compliance with specific obligations. So in the balanced approach, combines broad guidelines with detailed instruction. So a well-structured contract integrates both general and specific terms to create a balanced approach. General terms set the broad framework and direction, while specific terms provide the detailed guidance necessary for particular aspects. This combination ensures that the contract is both comprehensive and precise, facilitating effective management and execution of the agreement while minimizing the risk of misunderstandings and disputes. So examples in practice. So case study 1, construction contract, general term, governing law of the state, specific term, concrete mix specifications. Case study 2, service agreement, general term, payment within 30 days, specific terms, frequency of service visit. So these examples demonstrate how general and specific terms operate in real-world contracts. They highlight the importance of both types of terms in creating a comprehensive and functional agreement. By examining these cases, it becomes clear how general terms provide a broad framework for the contract, while specific terms addresses particular details that are crucial for successful execution. This illustrates the needs for both types of terms to ensure that contracts are well-rounded and effective. So that's all for the first topic. So we are now moving on to another topic, which is writing versus printing. So overview, the role of documentation in engineering contracts. Then the purpose of it is to explore implications of writing versus printing in contract management. So what is writing contracts? So writing contracts involves creating legally binding agreements using either handwritten or digital methods. This process establishes the terms and conditions agreed upon by the parties involved, ensuring clear documentation of their commitments and obligations. Understanding the methods and pros and cons of writing contracts helps in selecting the most appropriate approach based on the needs of the parties involved. Whether opting for handwritten or digital contracts, being aware of potential issues and advantages, ensuring that the contract drafting process is efficient, clear, and legally sound. So what is printing contracts? So printing contracts involves producing physical copies of agreements. This process is used to provide tangible documentation of the terms and conditions agreed upon by the parties, often for signing, distribution, and record-keeping purposes. Understanding the methods, pros and cons of printing contracts helps in choosing the most suitable approach based on factors such as volume, formality, and environmental considerations. Whether opting for offset or digital printing, being aware of the implications ensures efficient and effective management of physical contracts. So, comparison of the two, writing versus printing. So, comparing writing and printing helps in evaluating their respective benefits and drawbacks, allowing for informed decisions based on factors like adaptability, cost, professionalism, and environmental impact. This understanding aids in selecting the most appropriate method for creating and managing contracts effectively. So, legal considerations. So, validity, both writing and printing are legally acceptable if done properly. Signatures, digital signatures for electronic contracts, physical signatures for printed contracts. Then record keeping, importance of maintaining accurate and secure records. So, understanding the legal considerations related to writing and printing contracts ensures that agreements are valid, properly executed, and securely managed. By addressing validity, signature methods, and record keeping, parties can ensure that their contracts are legally sound and that they are prepared for any future legal or administrative needs. So, best practices for contract documentation. So, writing, use clear and concise language, employ digital tools for version control and security, while for printing, ensure secure handling and storage of the physical documentation of physical documents and use eco-friendly printing practices. So implementing best practices for both writing and printing contracts ensures that the documentation process is efficient, secure, and environmentally responsible. By focusing on clear communication, digital tools for version control, secure handling of physical documents, and eco-friendly practices, parties can enhance the effectiveness and sustainability of their contract management processes. So, case studies. So first, the case study 1 issues with handwritten contracts. Scenario, handwritten contracts leads to disputes due to unclear terms. So the lesson of it is the importance of clarity and legibility. Case study 2, problems with printed contracts. Scenario, printed contracts are tampered with before signing. So need for secure printing and handling procedures. So this case studies highlights the practical challenges and risks associated with different contract documentation methods. They underscore the need for clarity in handwritten contracts and the importance of security in printed contracts. By learning from these scenarios, parties can adopt better practices to mitigate risk and enhance the reliability of their contract documentation processes. So thank you for listening. I hope you are able to learn from these two um, specific topics that was assigned to me.
So let's discuss the words versus figures. The purpose of words versus figures is to understand how discrepancies between written words and numerical figures and contracts are resolved. The importance of this is to ensure clarity and prevents disputes over contractual terms. The nature of assignment and contract explanation. The purpose of this is to understand the concept of assignment in contracts, its key elements, and practical implications. So, the importance of this is to ensure proper transfer of rights and obligations between parties maintaining contractual integrity. So, good day everyone. I am here to discuss the nature of assignment. So, the nature of assignment in contracts. The purpose of this is to understand the concept of assignment in contracts, its key elements, and practical implications. The importance of this is to ensure proper transfer of rights and obligations between parties maintaining contractual integrity. So, the definition of assignment. Assignment, the transfer of contractual rights or benefits from one party assignor to another assignee. The key elements is first is assignor. Assignor, the party transferring the rights, and for the assignee, the party receiving the rights. So, the type of assignment is first assignments of rights. Assignments of rights, transfer of benefits or entitlements under a contract. For the example of this is assigning the right to receive payment from a debtor to another party. Second is assignment of obligations. It is transfer of duties or responsibilities under a contract. Requires consent from the party to whom the duty is owed obligee. For the legal framework, contractual terms, many contracts include clauses addressing the possibility and conditions of assignments. And for the example of this is, this contract may not be assigned without the prior written consent of the other party. Next is statutory provisions. Laws governing assignment vary by jurisdiction, providing rules and enforceability and limitations. The example of this is UCC provisions on the assignment of payment rights in commercial transactions. Next is key considerations in assignments. The first is assignability. Not all rights and obligations are assignable. The example of this is personal service contracts. Employment contracts typically cannot be assigned. Second is consent. Some assignments require the consent of the obligor, the party who must perform. And for the example of this is, assigning a lease agreement may require landlord approval. Third is notice. Proper notice of the assignment must be given to the obligor to enforce the assignment. For the example of this is, notifying a debtor of the assignment of a debt to a new creditor. The next is effect of assignments. For the effects of assignments, the first is right of assignee. The assignee steps into the shoes of the assigner, obtaining the same rights. And for the example of this is, if a contractor assigns a payment right, the assignee can demand payment directly from the client. Second is obligation of the assigner. The assigner may still retain some obligations unless explicitly transferred. For the example of this is, if the assigner guarantees performance, they remain liable if the assignee fails to perform. Third is third-party impacts. Assignments should not adversely affect the rights of third parties. And the example is, an assignment should not increase the burden on the obligor. Next is practical implications. Drafting contracts include clear assignment clauses to outline the condition and restrictions. The example of this is, this agreement may be assigned only with the express written consent of both parties. Next is managing assignment. Ensure proper documentation and notice for all assignments. And the example of this is, use formal assignment agreements and provide written notice to all relevant parties. Lastly is dispute resolution. Address potential disputes over assignments through mediation or arbitration clauses. And the example of this is, any disputes arising from the assignment of this contract shall be resolved through binding arbitration. For the conclusion of all of this is, understanding the nature of assignments ensures proper and enforceable transfer of rights and obligation in contracts. And the recommendation of this is, carefully draft and review assignment clauses and ensure compliance with legal requirements to avoid disputes. And that's all for this topic. Thank you.
So, in interpretation and construction, what may be assigned? So, what may be assigned in contracts? So, the purpose of this is to understand which contractual rights and obligation can be assigned, and the importance is ensure proper and enforceable transfer within the bound of legal and contractual framework. So, first is general principle of assignability. So, basic rule: most contractual rights are assignable unless explicitly restricted by the contract or law. So, expectation: certain rights and obligation cannot be assigned due to their personal nature or legal restriction. Then, right that can be assigned. So, first is monetary claims. Example: assigning the right to receive payments from a debtor to a third party. So, common scenario is selling invoice to a factoring company. Then, contractual benefits example of it is transferring the benefits of a supply agreement to another business. So, common scenario is corporate mergers and acquisition. Then third is intellectual property rights. Example, assigning a patent or trademark to another entities. So, common scenario is licensing agreement, selling IP assets. Real estate interest. So example is assigning lease rights from one tenant to another. Common scenario is subleasing or transferring lease agreement. So next is consideration for assignability. Contractual clause. So check for any clause that restrict or prohibited assignment. So example, this contract cannot be assigned without the written consent of the other party. So nature of obligation. So determine if the obligation is inherently personal or transferable. Example, a contract required unique artist skill is usually non-assignable. So next is consent requirements. So some assignments require the consent of the party who most perform. Example, landlord consent for assigning a lease agreement. So based of this, understanding what cannot be assigned is crucial for effective contract management and enforcements. And be careful review contract and legal provision regarding assignability and ensure all necessary steps are taken for valid assignments. So following this structure present explain the topic of what may be assigned. Contract is truly covered, providing clear understanding and practical insight. Next is the effect of assignment. So the effect of assignment in contracts. So the purpose of this is to understand the consequence and legal implication of assignment contractual rights and obligation. Ensure all parties involved are aware of their rights and responsibilities post assignment. One is assigns rights. Step into assignor's shoes. Definition is the assigned obtain the same rights and benefits that the assigner had under the contract. Example, if a business assigned its right to receive payments from clients to a third party, the assigned can now collect these payments directly. So, so as asserted against the assigner. Example, if the debtor had a valid defense against paying the assigner, this defense could be used against the assigned. So, obligation of the assigner. Continue liability defined unless the assignment explicit transfer obligation. The assigner may remain liable for certain duties. Example, an assigner might still be responsible for ensuring the assigned perform the assigned obligation. Then we can guarantee that assigner might provide guarantees to the assigned regarding the enforceability of the assigned rights. Example, a guarantee that the receivable being assigned are valid and collectible. Next is obligation of the obligor. So the obligor must be notified of the assignment to ensure performance to the assigned. So example, a debitor must be informed about the assignment of their debit to direct payments to the new creditor. So so understanding the effect of an assignment help ensure the right and obligation are properly transferred and enforced. So carefully draft assignment agreement, provide necessary notice, and review all contract and legal application to avoid dispute.